Hello, welcome to this live stream. Super awesome data. It's cool to have you on. Keen Music, as always. Hello, hello. So just so everyone, we're all on the same page here. The easiest and smoothest way to navigate the course materials is going to mycolormusic.com, which has playlists. So I'm going to twirl down this music theory course playlist. And last week, we were in lesson 0, making your own music. It's the preamble or the introduction to the course. So here we're jumping into lesson 1, how to see sound. So we're going to go through it page by page. Now, because this is an ongoing series, we're going to see how far we go based on any sidebars, conversations along the way. So as we did last week, I'm going to jump into this lesson, which is really where I think it starts to get fun. In the preamble or lesson 0, we talked about kind of the philosophy or the why behind why learn music theory in the first place, what this course is all about. Lesson 1, how to see sound, is where we really start to answer the question of how does music theory work? What is the structure behind all of this? So here we go. Lesson 1, how to see sound. This is the first lesson with a number beyond 0. And I'm going to just kind of skim past the table of contents there, and we'll start into where you are. So, okay, so you can hear good music in your head. So you want to share your songs with others. But the trouble is that it's difficult to translate your ideas into structured sound. So in this lesson, we'll take the first step toward the solution by learning to visualize music using color. And in the process, you'll discover the essential patterns that are at the very heart of music theory. So you'll see as we go throughout the course that this visual table of contents is a guide to where we're at to get your bearings. It's like a "you are here" map. And where we are is lesson 1, how to see sound. We're in the fundamentals section of part 1. So what you will learn in this lesson, here's a quick preview of what we'll cover in lesson 1. You will learn that all music is made from just 12 basic notes. That's all. You'll also learn how these notes got their names so you can understand the vocabulary of music. You'll then walk through the 5 simple steps needed to colorize these notes. And finally, you'll see how these 12 colors apply to the guitar fretboard in a logical and elegant way. Okay, so before I jump on, I'm just gonna check the comments. I'm getting a feel for this. Last time I kind of just went on and on and on into the as I was reading through lesson 0. So I just want to stop along the way and check in with how the chat's going. So hey, thank you for doing this. Hope you're having a wonderful holiday weekend. I hope you are too. It's springtime. You can't beat springtime. It's the best. And life and sound are a beautiful combination. It really is amazing that to be able to see color, to hear the full spectrum of sounds, and to make music. I mean, it's almost too good to be true, right? it's an amazing thing. Awesome. So you're putting your stickers on the fretboard while watching. Well, I'm excited for that, and the labels will definitely make all of these patterns pop. And that's what we're going to look at here is the logic behind these patterns. It's one thing to have this, all of these colors jumping out at you, and it's another thing to layer by layer and bit by bit make sense of what those patterns are. So into lesson 1 with music is a language. Okay, so I'm still here. Music is a language. Music is an amazing art form, obviously, which is why we're all drawn to it, right? Like a visceral beam of light, it shines with a clarity that cuts through the noise of everyday life to reveal the order and harmony of nature. Or at least it does when we close our eyes and just listen to it, listen anyway, fully immersed in the audible structure of it all, and moved by the way it flows through our minds like a native tongue, so clear and coherent. Indeed, music sounds so intuitive that it feels as though our ears are already fluent in this language, because we can hear a song and it makes sense immediately. But what's strange is that once we open our eyes and try to visualize these same sounds, it's a different experience altogether, where the language understood by our ears looks utterly foreign to our eyes as a mess of dots and lines and squiggles. I mean, it's such an odd thing about music, this dichotomy between the way it sounds and the way it looks, or how it's usually depicted anyway, because the difference is so extreme. And this gap in our perception between what we hear and what we see marks the divide between our ideas and their expression. Because as long as we're confused by the visual language of music, we'll struggle with the syntax of song, unable to fully articulate the music that we can hear inside. Do you get what I'm saying? It's maddening, really. So what we need is a way to align our hearing with our sight. That is to illustrate the patterns of music in such a way that they look as natural and simple as they sound, so that it's easy to translate one into the other. In other words, we need a Rosetta Stone of sorts to help us bridge the gap between the musical language of our ears and that of our eyes. So we need to bridge this gap between sound and sight, in essence. Making the translation. For context, the Rosetta Stone was an ancient slab of rock found near the town of Rosetta, Egypt, by Napoleon's army in 1799. Etched into the stone were the remnants of a decree written in multiple languages, including Egyptian hieroglyphs, which were a cryptic form of writing whose meaning had been lost to history for more than a millennium. With the discovery of this artifact, however, scholars were able to decipher the hieroglyphs using one of the known languages also written on the stone. And as a result, they cracked the code to the otherwise unintelligible writings of ancient Egypt. So, with that said, our musical hieroglyphs, as it were, are the cryptic symbols commonly used to depict music, like all the letters, numbers, dots, and images that are foreign to our eyes. And so what we need with our Rosetta Stone is another language to decode these symbols, a visual system that we already understand, and one, moreover, that not only explains the visuals of music, but also mirrors the patterns of sound. So a system, like I say, that bridges the gap between sound and sight. And with this system, we can then crack the code to music theory, literally, since we'll be able to see sound to become fully fluent in the language of music. And the system we can use, the one that's already native to our eyes and minds, and that reflects the natural patterns of sound, is color. Though not just any random set of colors, but these 12 specifically. So these 12 we're going to become very familiar with as we go. And at first, it might look like this scrambled pattern or this bad color scheme from the 1970s, but it's actually amazingly elegant and organized, and there's a lot of meaning here as we go. Of course, these colors might look a little strange at first, like some scrambled spectrum, and honestly, they might seem a bit limited to or even anticlimactic with only 12. But as you'll see next, these 12 colors are the key to your success as a songwriter because they explain how everything works in music, and I do mean everything. Pausing here for a moment, I'm going to look at the comments here, and super awesome data. Finished lesson 2 yesterday. That's awesome. So with the pacing as you're going through, definitely go at whatever speed makes sense or works with your schedule. And then as we go through incrementally with these live sessions, it will help refresh and elaborate on some of the points as you go through it. Every time you say get it in your vids, I tell myself, wait, this is simple. I get this. That's good feedback. So you're asking how helpful it is because it is easy. Yeah, and it is crazy and complicated with notation. Well, thanks very much. And it's very cool to be geeking out with you here about music theory. So it's funny to get the feedback on get it because as I said that in the videos, I was like, I don't know, is that the right term to use? But that was the intent, is to be like, okay, yeah, we're on the same page here. It's totally not only knowable, but something you can fully master and wrap your head and arms around. So thank you for that feedback. Um, all right, we're gonna keep rolling with the mother of all note patterns. So these 12 colors really are fundamental to what you'll learn, and here's why. Because in the lingo of music, they represent what's called the chromatic scale, and it's the mother of all note patterns. So these 12 notes are the chromatic scale. You see, everything you hear in music springs from this basic pattern, from melodies and chords to progressions and entire songs. It is the essential set of pitches that serves as the ultimate source of structured sound. In other words, all music can be boiled down to the notes of the chromatic scale. It's beautiful, really, and totally simple too, as you'll see for yourself going forward. But what's especially cool is that the guitar is actually made from this pattern, where each string on the fretboard represents its own chromatic scale. So the instrument is just one big stack of scales like this. So on the second string, starting on the first fret here, we have C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, and so on. It's really just the notes of the chromatic scale as you rise up incrementally through each fret. And it's the same for all of the strings, as we'll really dive into going forward here. So as a result, you can see how these 12 notes are important to the language of music, and that once you understand them, you can quickly crack the code of music theory to unlock the songs that are inside you. The only question is, how is this pattern formed, since it really does look weird, as we observed? I mean, when I said that color is the answer, you might have envisioned something else, like the color spectrum with all the hues in sequence like this. And if you thought if this is what you envisioned, you're not alone. It makes sense. This is a sidebar here. Makes sense. Chroma. We think of chromatic. The chromatic scale would be in some colorful order. You see this color pattern all the time with, color methods that are half-baked, which is basically all of the color methods that attempt to align color and music. Even Isaac Newton, in his book Optics, envisioned a color and music connection, but his insights were several years before the circle of fifths was known in Europe, in Western Europe, and so he overlooked the strange relationship between the circle of fifths and the chromatic scale. All right, so this is what you might envision. Back into lesson 1. So after all, this is how the colors are arranged in nature, not mixed up in some strange pattern. And since the word chromatic comes from the Greek word chroma, meaning color, we might assume that, if anything, the chromatic scale would form a seamless rainbow of hues. So the guitar would look more like this, all natural and straightforward. So where the colors on each string would rise up incrementally in a color spectrum. That would be what you might think intuitively. And for that matter, what's up with the shapes too? All the squares and circles, that is, in their alternating sequence. What's the significance of this pattern along with the colors? Well, the truth is that there's a logic to these colors and shapes that's actually very simple once you understand it. There's just a twist to how you get there, literally. So to explain, let's take a closer look at this basic pattern to see exactly what it means and how it was formed in the first place. Cracking the code. And actually, let me just pause here. Yeah, no, definitely not being patronizing for sure. It is easy once you get into it. And that's the thing too, just along the point of that it is easy is, yeah, definitely to be patronizing is not the ethos here, as you've come to learn and see. It's all the humility of and the joy of understanding music. So yeah, the chromo is color, and so you would think, oh yeah, you would see the colors in that order, but that's not the case. Newton did get beamed by an apple. He definitely had some amazing insights. And on the first and last string, yeah, exactly. So that's cool. So on the low E and the high E, you see that they're the same pattern. And the fact that you can see them really is, it's like, what? You have the chance to see the colors. When I first was learning the guitar, I would be like, okay, I'm going to play this note and this note. And then sometimes, these notes would sound good. And then sometimes these notes sounded different. I'm like, I don't know. Why does this note sound good with this note? Why does this note not sound good with that note? I felt as though it's almost like I had dyslexia in the sense that the notes seemed to be moving around on me, and I didn't know if I could rely on if a certain note sounded good in one context, if it would sound good in other contexts. I just had no conception of why the notes were laid out as they were or what the significance was. So to be able to see them and to be able to like hold your finger down on it and pin it down and be able to understand it without them moving around conceptually is going to be wonderful. And that's why we're getting into seeing these patterns. So jump back into cracking the code.